In a small, remote village cradled between tall green mountains, there lived a young man named Marco. He was only 24, but life had already made him feel older than his years. Marco's mind was never quiet. From a moment he woke up until he lay in bed at night, his thoughts spun like a storm. Memories from the past haunted him, regrets clung to his heart, and fears of the future made his chest feel heavy. No matter what he did, he couldn't find peace. He couldn't enjoy a meal without his mind wandering into dark corners. He couldn't fall asleep without wrestling with restless thoughts. And slowly, Marco began to forget what it felt like to truly smile. The rumor of a wise old man. One day, while sitting outside a small tea shop, Marco overheard two travelers talking. They spoke of a faraway village hidden high in the hills, a place where time seemed to slow down. And in that village, they said, lived an old man. Not just any old man, but someone who had once been a respected psychologist in the bustling city. He had helped countless people heal their minds and hearts. Years ago, he had left the chaos of urban life and settled in nature, living quietly among the hills. From time to time, he would share his wisdom with those who came to seek it. Marco's curiosity sparked. Could this man really help? Could someone like him, who had helped so many others, finally quiet the storm inside Marco's head? With a small flame of hope in his heart, Marco decided he would go. The long journey. The journey was not easy. The path to the hill village twisted and turned through forests and streams. Days passed as Marco walked, his legs aching, his feet sore. But each step carried him closer to what he hoped would be a turning point in his life. At last, one cool morning, he saw it, a quiet village surrounded by green fields and tall trees. It felt untouched by time. The first meeting. Following the directions he had been given, Marco found himself standing before a small house covered in climbing vines and flowers. On the porch sat the old man, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and calm. He didn't move when Marco approached. It was as if the world outside couldn't touch him. "Sir," Marco said softly, almost afraid to disturb the peace. "My mind never rests. I can't stop thinking. I feel trapped in my own head. I want peace. Can you help me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was steady, and there was a kindness in it that made Marco feel both exposed and safe at the same time. "So," the old man said gently, "you are looking for peace. Then I will give you a task. A strange task." He led Marco to a small table in the yard. There, he took a clear glass and filled it to the very top with water. It was so full that the slightest tremble would send it spilling over. Holding the glass carefully, the old man handed it to Marco. "Walk from here to the far edge of the village," he said, "and then come back to me. But there is one rule. Not a single drop of water must spill." Marco stared at the glass, puzzled. "That's all?" he asked. "That's all," the old man replied, a faint smile on his lips. The walk. Marco began walking. The road was narrow, winding between houses and market stalls. Children played games nearby, their laughter echoing in the air. Dogs barked at strangers. Shopkeepers called out to passers-by. But Marco didn't look at any of it. His eyes stayed fixed on glass. Each step was slow and careful. His whole focus, his whole world, was just that fragile water balanced in his hands. For the first time in years, there were no extra thoughts swirling in his head. Only one: don't spill the water. Finally, after what felt like a long time, Marco returned to the old man. He was proud. Not a single drop had spilled. The lesson. The old man smiled. "Well done. But tell me, on your walk, did you see the children playing by the road?" Marco shook his head. "No." "Did you hear the dogs barking?" "No." "Did you notice the shopkeepers calling out?" "No, sir. I didn't notice anything. I was too focused on the glass." The old man's eyes softened. "That," he said quietly, "is the secret. When your mind is completely in the present moment, there is no room for regret about the past or fear of the future. There's no space for endless thoughts to trouble you. On that walk, all that existed for you was the glass of water. And so, your mind became quiet." Marco stood still, letting the words sink into his heart. He had spent years searching for peace, thinking it was something outside of him. But it had been inside him all along. He had simply never learned how to find it. A changed man. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Marco bowed his head to the old man. "I understand now. If I want peace, I must keep my mind in this moment, just like I did with the glass." The old man smiled again, his face lit by the golden glow of sunset. "Remember, peace is not something you chase. It is something you uncover when you stop chasing." Marco left the village at dawn the next day. The road was the same as before, but his mind was different. He was not the restless young man who had arrived days ago. He was someone who now understood that the present moment was his shelter, his anchor, his peace. And for the first time in many years, Marco smiled. Not because the world had changed, but because he had. This story reminds us that peace isn't found by changing the world around us, but by changing the way we experience it.